It's your favorite. It's another Caddy video. So in this video, we're going to do simple maintenance, and I'm going to show you what's wrong. So lately I've been having an exhaust leak. You can see it right there coming out of the manifold. I put gaskets in this manifold when I built the engine, and I guess it just blew out. So I have new gaskets to go in it. But first, before we replace it, I'm going to have to remove this generator. Now the problem that I think I'm going to have is I can get really good access to the bolts here and the bolts underneath that, but these back ones I'm not so sure about, and I don't know if I need to take the whole manifold away in order to slide a new gasket in. We'll just have to see. The problem is when I drive it, it just sounds like a beater when I'm driving it. You know, the pit of the exhaust is awful. So you get out, Pollo. The first step, we have to loosen up this generator, which, believe it or not, I've never actually rebuilt the generator, and it works really, really well. So that's a pretty good thing. Next, we have to take off these electrical wires that go through it to it, and then from there we have a big bolt on the bottom that holds it in. With the generator out, you can see a little bit better how it attaches. So it has these two holes on the bottom that attach to a bracket, which is actually bolted to the exhaust manifold. I don't see how that's really good for longevity and, you know, making your generator last long. I would think the heat soak would be pretty bad on it. But with that out of the way, I can access a little bit better these bolts that are here in the bottom. The problem is, you know, the control arm is in the way, that kind of thing. So I'm going to try my best to get at it and see what I can do in order to loosen it up. I'm pretty sure, looking at it now, I'm going to have to go underneath the car, which is not going to be fun. Get out, Pollos. Well, I made some discoveries. So there, I've taken out 3 bolts. So one bolt from here, here, and then one from back here, and then I've loosened this. You want to know why this gasket failed? It's because the bolts in here were hand tight. I mean, I didn't even need a breaker bar or anything. One I can move with my fingers, which of course was the one on this side, and then the other one, I did need a wrench for it, but here they are. So for some reason, when I put these in, I didn't include lock washers. Maybe because stock they didn't have lock washers, but I'm definitely going to put lock washers back onto these when I put them in. The good thing is, I didn't have to take all the rest of these bolts out. These 2 in the back are still there, which I probably should tighten them up from underneath the car when I'm done. But with this big long plier, I'm able to just nicely move the manifold enough that I think I can get that gasket out. So we'll get it out and I'll let you know what it looks like. So here's the gasket. Now, from what I understand, I don't think these are supposed to come with gaskets. I think the machine surface is supposed to be perfect and just made up. But I remember gaskets when I took it apart, so we put the gaskets on when I put it back in. But you can see how the exhaust gas is kind of just eating up this part of the gasket. It's done. I have a new one, and we'll put it in, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, that's definitely not good anymore. So here's my gaskets. It's pretty much an incomplete set, but I only needed one. I got it really cheap off of eBay, and it's Velcro. Old, but still good. And then here's the gasket I need. Here's the old one. And then I got some lock washers off of my parts cars, which will work just fine. They match the bolts. But we'll put 4 lock washers on this side. We'll tighten up the other ones that I can get to, and then we will listen for more exhaust leaks. I think this is the only one I have. At least it's the only one I could see. So we'll go from there. Here is the moment of truth. Got the spark plug wire plugged back in. We have the generator all mounted up. The belt's tight. The wires are where they're supposed to be, including the ground. And we have that replaced. So let's see what happens. Go outside. Go. Go outside. Go. Go. Pollo! Pollo! Get out, Pollo! Out! No, don't come back in here. Get out! Alright, I drove this car yesterday. So it should start up pretty quickly. See if you still have that tick. Ugh. Oh, gotta plug the battery in. Alright, battery's in. The gen light is on. That's not good. But we have no more ticks. That is very, very good. Now we gotta figure out why my generator is not charging. As you guys saw in the last clip, my generator is not charging, and I don't know why. So there's a couple tests that I can do on the generator to see if that's actually the problem or if it's something else in the system. So what we're gonna do is connect it to this battery and run it like a motor first and see if it actually will do that. And then from there, we can move one of the leads to the other side, and then it should stop it. And if those things happen, that means pretty much the generator is in good shape. So on the top of this generator, we have an F terminal and an A terminal. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect the negative 12 volts to the metal housing, and then the positive 12 volts to the A terminal. And what this should do, this should turn the generator like a motor. Oh, it doesn't want to go. Maybe it's just a bad connection. Bad ground. Let's try that again. Well, that's weird. It doesn't want to continually run it. Like it turns, you know, half a turn and then nothing. That's it. Maybe I have a bad ground. I don't know. I don't think so. Well, that test doesn't work. So it didn't want to run very well. So I'm thinking the generator itself needs rebuilt. We'll see. Well, in the last clip, I wasn't charging. So as you saw, I tested the generator out, and guess what? It didn't work. Which is weird because I just took it off and there really wasn't anything other than moving the generator from here to here and then back. Anyway, so I ended up sourcing a known good generator. There's a guy that lives close to me. His name is Jose Gomez. If you're into 56 Cadillacs, you probably know who he is. Anyway, he has a really, really awesome looking blue two-tone 56, and he had an extra generator that I was able to source from him, so fingers crossed this one will work. We did the little test on the floor and it did turn by itself, so let's get to doing it. In the meantime, what I will do is I will put my original voltage regulator back where it's supposed to go, and then I will also change the belts on the front to 2 new ones. The reason being, these ones are actually the ones that came with the car when I bought it all those years ago, and they were new-ish, but you know, for the trip that I want to take this car on, we're gonna go with a little bit newer belts than these. So we'll take those off and put the new ones on. Fingers crossed it will work. Well, the first hiccup we have is that this doesn't accept a bolt. It's just been, I guess, stripped, so nothing will go in it, unlike the other one that I had, but that's okay. So what I plan on doing is using this longer bolt and then putting a nut on the back side with 2 lock washers, and hopefully that will make the belt keep tension and it will work. Alright guys, look, it speaks. So I think the problem was threefold. One of the main issues was the ground wire had a loose connection, and then also I believe my generator was going bad, but I had to use my old voltage regulator. So basically everything brand new finally got it to work. I undid all the electrical tape around these wires right here in hopes to get them to I thought there was some kind of short or problem with them, but they look okay. The new belts sound awesome. So with the exhaust manifold leak gone and the new belts that I have on it, You used to be able to hear the belts kind of squealing as they went, but the engine is much, much quieter than it was, and I'm liking this a lot. And the best part, there's no generator light. One thing that I want to do before I take this car all the way to Austin is I want to replace the U-joint. So there's a vibration that I have coming about 50 plus miles an hour. I think it's the U-joints, I'm not sure, but you know, these haven't been replaced in a long time. So we're going to do it anyway. So this one is kind of hard to turn. I think it is starting to dry out, but the rest of them feel somewhat decent. The new ones I have are obviously going to be better. So I'll knock them out real quick and then we will move on to the next thing. Alright, this is how I take U-joints out. So I have a large socket that's bigger than the cup where the bearings go, clenched in the vise. I have the back of the drive shaft supported so it's level, and then I take a socket like this one and I take a big frickin' hammer and I pound out the U-joint after liberally lubing it, etc., etc. So what this does is that all the force will be through the U-joint, and then the U-joint cap will push down into this. And it works pretty well. It drove that one out pretty nicely. Alright, here's the finished product. So we have one new U-joint on one end and the expensive new U-joint on the other end. Something interesting is the old one didn't have this piece side to side. I don't know if that makes any kind of difference at all, but it's there and ready to go. So gotta grease them up, and then we'll throw them in the car and we'll take it on a test drive and see if it rides any better. These aren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. All the U-joints still had grease in them. None of them were, got hot or anything like that, but they were old and they were leaking grease, which means sooner or later, yes, they would have failed.